It begins quietly, almost invisibly, the way most endings do when a man has already mastered himself. There's no argument, no dramatic goodbye, no explosion of emotion to mark the moment, just silence. The kind of silence that feels unnerving to anyone who's never learned to sit inside it. When she looks at you and sees no reaction, no pleading, no anger, she assumes you've stopped caring. She tells herself your calm means you've detached completely, that your stillness is proof of indifference. What she doesn't understand is that calm doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you've learned to control what you feel. You've chosen discipline over impulse, clarity over chaos. You didn't pull away because you wanted to hurt her. You pulled away because you finally realized that peace was worth more than being understood. You stopped trying to prove your worth through words or through effort. You began to see that true power lies in restraint. A Stoic man doesn't need to announce his pain or justify his silence. He simply stands in it, steady and unwavering, until the storm within him settles. You let go, not because you stopped loving her, but because you refused to lose yourself in the process of trying to hold on. She thought your silence was a tactic, a form of manipulation designed to make her chase. But it wasn't. It was acceptance. It was you saying, without words, "I no longer resist what is." That kind of calm unnerves people who thrive on noise. She had grown used to men who argued, who shouted, who begged for another chance. She was comfortable in chaos because chaos made her feel desired. But you offered something different. You offered her presence without dependency, attention without desperation, love without control. And because she couldn't understand it, she mistook your peace for weakness. She didn't see how much strength it took to stay composed while your heart was breaking. How much discipline it required not to react when your ego screamed for validation. How much mastery it took to walk away when everything inside you wanted to stay. She thought calmness came easy to you. She never saw the quiet battles fought beneath the surface. The countless times you chose silence over argument, reflection over reaction, patience over pride. You didn't shut down. You evolved. You turned pain into purpose, and as she walked away, she believed she was stepping into freedom. She couldn't see that you were the one who was already free. You had learned to exist without needing control, to care without clinging, to love without losing your balance. That's what frightened her most. Not that you didn't care, but that you didn't need her to validate that you did. In that moment, your silence became your power. Every word you didn't speak carried more weight than any plea could. Every step you took away became a declaration of self-mastery. You had become the calm after the storm, the man who no longer needed to prove his strength because he lived it. And though she didn't understand it then, that same silence would one day echo louder than any goodbye. While she searched for constant stimulation, you were building something deeper, a foundation of calm that couldn't be shaken by emotion or circumstance. She didn't realize it at the time, but every moment you chose patience over pride, every time you listened instead of reacting, you were showing her something few men ever do: control. You didn't need to dominate her or win arguments to feel powerful. Your strength was quiet, rooted and self-contained. You didn't chase validation because your peace didn't depend on being understood. You had already made peace with yourself. When she tried to pull you into emotional chaos, you didn't fight the way others would have. You observed, waited, and responded with clarity instead of anger. She wanted passion that roared, drama that burned bright, but you gave her steadiness. She wanted to feel alive through intensity. You made her feel safe through consistency. At first, that stability drew her in. She mistook your grounded nature for mystery, your restraint for confidence. But as time passed, her unhealed restlessness began to see your calm as a threat. Peace forces people to confront the noise inside themselves, and your peace made her face the storm she had always avoided. She began to crave emotional highs again, the kind that come from uncertainty and conflict. She missed the adrenaline of being chased, the ego boost of being needed. But you didn't give her that. You gave her space. You gave her silence. You gave her the rare experience of being seen without being controlled. She didn't understand it, so she called it detachment. She said you were distant, too calm, too unreadable. What she didn't realize was that you were practicing the purest form of love, one without possession, one without fear. You had learned the difference between reacting and responding, between attachment and presence. You knew that love born from dependency is never real. It's a transaction of insecurities. So you chose a higher form of connection, one that required no performance. Your discipline wasn't coldness. It was strength refined through pain. Every time you stayed composed, you were proving to yourself that your emotions served you, not the other way around. When she finally left, she believed she was escaping what she thought was dullness. She told herself she needed someone more expressive, more impulsive, more alive. But what she didn't realize was that she wasn't walking away from indifference. She was walking away from mastery. She mistook your self-control for absence of passion, when in truth your restraint was the most passionate act of all. It meant you cared enough not to destroy what you loved in the heat of emotion. You understood something she didn't, that not every fire burns bright. Some fires burn steady, eternal, and unseen. You were that fire. You didn't collapse when she left. You didn't chase. You didn't beg to be understood, because deep down you knew what she couldn't. That peace is the highest form of power, and no one who truly owns it ever needs to prove it. At first, she tells herself she's happier. She convinces her friends, and maybe even herself, that she needed something different, someone more spontaneous, more expressive, more passionate. The new man brings excitement, the kind that makes her pulse race and her emotions swing like a pendulum. Everything feels alive again, the late-night conversations, the constant texting, the quick highs that blur into exhaustion. She mistakes motion for meaning, chaos for connection, but deep down, beneath all that noise, something feels off. The thrill is fleeting. The intensity she once craved begins to drain her instead of fill her. The new relationship feels like walking on shifting sand. Every argument turns volcanic. Every silence feels like abandonment. What once felt exciting now feels unstable. She remembers how different it used to be with you. The way your calm never wavered. How your silence never felt like punishment, but peace. You never needed to fill every quiet space with words. You never used affection as leverage. You simply existed with a kind of grounded certainty that made her nervous once but now feels like home. The contrast becomes impossible to ignore. The passion she chased now feels like chaos. The constant attention she once thought she wanted becomes suffocating. She starts to crave the one thing she once rejected: peace. Not the kind that hides from life, but the kind that steadies it. The kind you carried effortlessly. The kind that made her feel anchored even when the world felt uncertain. She begins to remember the subtleties. The way your presence could calm her without a word. How you never tried to fix her emotions. You just allowed them to pass without judgment. Slowly, she begins to realize that what she once called boring was actually balance. What she called cold was control. What she called detached was discipline. She starts to understand that you didn't hold back because you lacked feeling. You held back because you understood the weight of it. You knew that reacting to every emotion only feeds chaos, while mastering your response creates freedom. You weren't afraid of love. You were simply unwilling to lose yourself in it. It's in her quiet moments, when the world stops demanding her attention, that the truth catches up. She remembers the stillness of your energy, the safety in your presence, the steadiness of your voice. Those memories don't shout. They whisper. They linger like the echo of a lesson learned too late. Because once a woman experiences true peace, she can't forget it. Once she's seen the difference between intensity and intimacy, she can't unsee it. And that's when the ache begins. Not for what you did, but for who you were. The man who didn't need to prove himself. The man whose silence carried more meaning than any promise. She begins to understand that chaos can imitate love, but it can never replace calm. And once she knows that, every other connection feels fragile. Every other man feels loud, because peace once lost becomes the rarest thing to find again. Time passes, and the noise that once kept her distracted begins to fade. The nights grow quieter, and in that quiet, she starts to hear the echo of something she thought she had forgotten. You. It's not just a memory. It's a vibration that hums beneath her thoughts. She begins to notice the difference between men who look confident and men who are. The difference between those who perform strength and those who embody it. Every new man she meets speaks too much, reacts too quickly, needs too often. None of them carry that calm certainty you did. None of them make her nervous in the way peace once did. And slowly, she begins to see that what made you different wasn't your words or your affection. It was your energy. You never begged to be understood. You never tried to prove your point. When things broke, you didn't force them back together. You accepted. You embodied stillness even when it hurt. That's what made you powerful. It's what made you unforgettable. But she couldn't see that when she was still chasing excitement disguised as love. Back then, your silence made her anxious. Now it makes her nostalgic. She remembers how your calm filled a room, how your presence made her feel safe even in her worst moments. And for the first time, she understands what she really lost. Then one day it happens. The quiet reach. A message. A reaction to your story. A casual, "Hey, how have you been?" Disguised as nothing. But it isn't nothing. It's a test. A subtle attempt to see if she still matters. If her absence still echoes in your mind. She tells herself it's just curiosity, but she knows better. What she's reaching for isn't you. It's the energy she once had when she was near you. But the man she's trying to reach no longer exists. The man who once analyzed every word, who once felt a spark of hope with every message, has disappeared. You've become someone new, refined by silence, sharpened by pain, steadied by understanding. You no longer see her words as an invitation. You see them as information, a reminder of how far you've come. There's no anger, no rush of emotion, no bitterness, just stillness. The kind that comes from mastery. You realize now that closure was never something she could give you. It was something you built within yourself. You've learned that true power isn't in being remembered. It's in being unmoved. When she feels your calm indifference, it unsettles her. The same silence that once made her feel safe now makes her uneasy. Because she knows deep down she no longer has access to you. Your energy no longer bends toward her. It centers within you. The balance has shifted. She can feel it. And what she feels now isn't rejection, it's realization. The understanding that your silence isn't a tactic. It's the truth. You've outgrown the version of yourself who needed her. You've evolved beyond reaction, and that evolution is the loudest message of all. Now your silence has become a language of its own. One that speaks of evolution, of endurance, of peace that cannot be shaken. You walk differently now, not because you're trying to appear strong, but because strength has become your nature. Every step you take carries the weight of lessons learned in solitude. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone, because the quiet within you already declares your worth. You have become a man guided by discipline, not by desire, by principle, not by impulse. What once felt like loss has transformed into liberation. You've learned that true power doesn't roar. It hums beneath the surface. It's not the energy that seeks attention. It's the energy that commands it without effort. You used to think peace was something found in someone else's presence. But now you know it was something you had to build within your own. The heartbreak that once shattered you was never meant to destroy you. It was the forge that shaped your character, the test that revealed your strength. Pain refined you into precision. It stripped away the noise and left behind only truth. She remembers you now not through the lens of affection, but through reverence. She doesn't miss your words. She misses your energy, the way your calm filled a room, the way your presence steadied everything around it. You became the anchor in her memory, the one constant she didn't know she needed until you were gone. She realizes now that what made you rare wasn't your love, it was your self-control. You didn't seek to possess her. You sought only to understand yourself. You didn't try to fix her. You focused on governing your own mind. And that discipline, that restraint, has become the standard she unknowingly measures every man against. In the world around you, men still chase validation, still perform confidence, still confuse attention with affection. But you have risen beyond that. You've learned that calmness isn't the absence of emotion, it's the command of it. You don't run from feeling. You move through it with composure. That's why your energy lingers, not as a ghost of the past, but as a reminder of what mastery looks like. You no longer crave closure or recognition. Your peace is your proof. You've realized that power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from controlling yourself. And that is what truly makes you untouchable. The man she knew is gone, not because he stopped caring, but because he became someone she could no longer reach. You've evolved beyond needing to be remembered. You exist now as the calm after the storm, the embodiment of everything she once took for granted. When she thinks of you, let her. Let her feel the silence that once irritated her and now soothes her. Let her remember the peace she once mistook for boredom, because your stillness is your legacy. You didn't just move on, you ascended. You became the man who proves that the world remembers chaos, but it reveres calm.